do in this race is bring people together, is to try to bridge the divide between Americans. So I'm proud that President Trump likes me, even though I don't agree with him on most of his issues, because I don't want to alienate people. I want to bring people together. I'm proud that all these people like me and that I have independent supporters and Democratic supporters.
All right, that was from our town hall last night with Democratic presidential candidate, moderated by NewsNation's Elizabeth Vargas. Nationally, Kennedy remains a distant second place. The Real Clear Politics average has him 50 points behind President Biden. That doesn't take into account the town hall and the shirtless workout videos. But polling isn't as important as narrative. Mr. Biden wants South Carolina to hold the first 2024 Democratic primary, and depending on how things go, he might not even be on the ballot in Iowa or New Hampshire. In other words, RFK could win or at least significantly damage Biden in those key early voting states, Kennedy announced in New Hampshire. With us now, Scott Traynor, Director of Data Science at our Decision Desk HQ Election Partners, and Democratic strategist Kurt Bardella. Gentlemen, good to see both of you. Start, Scott, with you. Is there something in politics that just because you're at 14%, times narrative becomes more important?
Yeah, well, especially if you're RFK Jr., right? We're talking about him being at 14%. Very few candidates get the kind of coverage he has or the town hall that NewsNation did for him last night. I think that's good for him, and I think the Democratic Party is helping him out by not letting him be on the ballot in the first early states, which gives the news media more things to talk about. I think that's why we're seeing his poll numbers where they are today. Do I think he's a serious threat to President Joe Biden's renomination? No. But it's certainly interesting to talk about. And you know what? I'm not super surprised that 10 to 30% of the Democratic primary electorate, which is depending on what poll you're looking at, is considering someone else. I think, that's pretty normal, especially at this stage in polling. I understand the counter argument is, well, he's an incumbent. But you know what? At the end of the day, voters have varying attitudes, and it's a poll 8 months out before. So if I were the Joe Biden crew, I wouldn't be super worried about this. But it is interesting to talk about.
Yeah, Kurt, the flip side of this, though, is that RFK is tapping into a desire by a group of the population, and interestingly enough, sort of waffles between Democrat and Republican, but that just want some type of raw authenticity, agree or disagree, almost like what happened with Donald Trump in 2016. Yeah. They just love the idea that there's someone saying the establishment is ignoring you or sticking it to you, and I am here to stand up to the establishment. And that's what he's doing.
I mean, if I didn't know any better, it's almost as if he could be Joe Rogan in terms of like the type of shtick that he has to trying to appeal to those people who feel understandably disenfranchised by the current system. And it's the same recipe that we saw in 2016 with Donald Trump. It's not lost on me that some of the biggest supporters right now, the most vocal, visible supporters of Kennedy's campaign, actually come from the right. People like Steve Bannon, who are propping him up, and so
Republicans love this. You want to create either if you're the Republicans, you want to create 1968, you want to create 1980 all over again. If you're the Democrats, you'd want to create 1992.
And it's something that Scott was right about this. That
this is a first.
Yeah, I'm going to say this out loud publicly. This might be the only time. That's it. It's just because it was recently this guy's birthday. Any other candidate that's at 14%. With maybe a Tim Scott, they would kill for this type of coverage, this type of saturation.
They'd also be debate qualified, too, which is an interesting thing.
Well, that's a good point, because there is no debate, which I think it's sort of interesting how the Democrats are playing this, right? And in a way, if you bring somebody into the tent, you can make them play by the rules. If you keep them outside the tent, as the Democratic Party is trying to do, you can't enforce any rules. And it would appear as though RFK is sort of enjoying that outside the tent, crusader moniker, and he's grabbing onto it. Just take a listen.
Will you pledge to support whoever the Democratic nominee is, whoever it is, whether it's you, whether it's President Biden?
Oh, of course I'm not going to do that. I'm not
going to do that.
No, of course I'm not.
So
listen,
if you don't get the nomination, you won't support President Biden?
I don't know what I'll do.
Would you then support a Republican or run as an independent?
You know what? My plan is to win this election, and I don't have a plan B.
All right, Scott, you said that he likely won't beat Joe Biden to be the Democratic nominee. Reasonable people can agree on that.
I wouldn't bet on it, that's for sure.
Yeah, you'll bet on anything. But if he runs as a third-party candidate, Georgia, Pennsylvania, a little bit in Michigan, perhaps in New Hampshire. He could change the whole dynamic.
Well, let's just play that out a little. Let's say he wins all those. There's still a lot of delegates left.
No, I'm talking about running as a third party.
Oh, as a third party
in general.
Yeah, well, and that's where it's interesting when you look at the crosstabs of some of these polls, where he pulls votes from and things like that. He does pull votes from conservative Democrats. They're looking for that authenticity. They're looking for a little bit of what Marianne Williamson brought them in 2020, a little bit what Bernie Sanders brought them in 2016. And so, he can pull just enough votes off the table, like you said, in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona. Those are the 4 states. I'm going to give you a little foreshadowing. Those are the 4 states we're going to be up late in, 18 months from now. So
up late or up for a week.
Up late.
All right, you get the last word. Should Democrats be worried about a third party?
I think that a third party candidate would be incredibly destructive in terms of handing the Republican nominee, whoever it is, the election. I do think that it's interesting that Kennedy said he only has a plan A. That's to win. When you say things like, I won't support the Democratic nominee and that I like that Donald Trump likes me, that pretty much annihilates plan A of winning a Democratic primary.
Huh. All right. Yeah. If we ever get to the point of running ads against RFK, that's what the Biden administration's going to be cutting some of those sound bites. Gentlemen, good to see you. Thank you as always. Appreciate it. All right.